In a distant part of the galaxy, an alien race called the Crixin had taken over countless planets. Their massive warships moved like shadows across the stars, destroying everything in their path. With weapons far beyond what humans could imagine, they crushed civilizations without mercy. No one had ever stood against them and won. Now, Earth's outer colonies were next on their list. On Earth, news of the Crixin's approach spread quickly. People were scared. World leaders met in secret to come up with a plan. They knew they couldn't fight the Crixin head-on. The enemy was too strong, too advanced. But they also knew they needed time to prepare Earth's defenses. So they decided to send out a small fleet to slow the invaders down. It was a risky plan, almost certain death for those involved. Among the ships chosen for this mission was the *SS Vanguard*, an old but reliable vessel. The *Vanguard* was commanded by Captain Alan Drake. He was a tall man with graying hair and sharp eyes that showed years of experience. Drake had seen his share of battles, and he carried the weight of every loss with him. His crew trusted him, though, because he always made sure they had a fighting chance. On board the ship, Lieutenant Rachel Brooks served as the tactical officer. She was calm under pressure, her mind working faster than most people could follow. Ensign Daniel Hayes, a young navigator fresh out of training, was eager to prove himself. And then there was Chief Engineer Samantha Lane, whose clever hands kept the aging ship running even when it seemed impossible. As the human fleet approached the edge of the Sol system, the Crixin armada came into view. The sight was terrifying. Dozens of enormous ships floated in space, their dark metal surfaces glinting in the light of nearby stars. Energy weapons charged, ready to fire. The humans knew they didn't stand a chance, but they had no choice. They had to try. The battle began with a deafening roar of explosions. The Crixin opened fire first, their plasma cannons tearing through the human ship shields. One by one, the smaller vessels were destroyed, their wreckage drifting silently into the void. The Vanguard* took heavy damage early on. Its engines sputtered, and its weapon systems were barely holding together. Smoke filled the corridors, and alarms blared constantly. Captain Drake stood on the bridge, watching the chaos unfold. He clenched his fists tightly, his jaw set in determination. "We can't win this," he muttered to himself. But giving up wasn't an option. Not yet. He ordered the remaining ships to retreat, knowing they couldn't hold the line any longer. But as the others pulled back, Drake made a decision. He would stay behind with the Vanguard*. "We're not done here," he said to his crew. "Our job isn't to win. It's to buy time. For Earth, for everyone back home. If we can hold them off, even for a little while, we've done our duty." Rachel nodded, already thinking of ways to stretch their limited resources. Daniel swallowed hard but stayed focused on his console. Samantha worked furiously to keep the ship from falling apart. They all knew what staying meant. There was no coming back from this. But none of them hesitated. They were ready to do whatever it took. The Crixin turned their attention to the lone ship still standing. Their flagship moved closer, its size making the Vanguard* look like a speck in comparison. Fighter craft launched from the enemy mothership, surrounding the human vessel like predators circling prey. Drake took a deep breath. "Hold your ground," he told his crew. "We're not just buying time. We're proving something. That humanity doesn't go down without a fight." And with that, the Vanguard* prepared to face the biggest challenge of its existence. The Crixin flagship loomed over the *SS Vanguard*, its massive form casting a shadow that seemed to swallow the smaller ship whole. Enemy fighters swarmed around the human vessel, their sleek shapes darting in and out of view as they fired relentless bursts of energy. The Vanguard* shuddered with every hit, its weakened shields flickering dangerously close to failure. Sparks flew across the bridge and smoke filled the air, but Captain Alan Drake remained steady at his post. "Rachel, give me something," Drake said, his voice calm but firm. He trusted his tactical officer to find a way out of this mess, even if it felt impossible. Lieutenant Rachel Brooks didn't hesitate. Her fingers danced across her console as she analyzed the situation. "Their fighters are fast, but they're predictable," she said, her tone sharp despite the chaos around her. "If we can fake them into thinking we're heading for an escape route, we might be able to draw them into a trap." Drake nodded. "Do it." Ensign Daniel Hayes, seated at the navigation station, looked up nervously. "Sir, our engines are barely holding together. If we push them too hard—" "We don't have a choice," Drake interrupted, his eyes locked on the view screen. "Make it work, Ensign." Daniel swallowed hard but got to work. He plotted a zigzagging course designed to confuse the enemy fighters while staying just ahead of their attacks. It was risky, but it was their only shot. Chief Engineer Samantha Lane chimed in from engineering. "I'll reroute power from life support to keep the shields up a little longer," she said through the comms. Her voice was strained, but determined. "Just don't expect us to last forever down here." As the plan unfolded, the Vanguard began weaving erratically through space. Its movements were unpredictable, throwing off the Crixin pilots who had expected the humans to either flee or fight back directly. Instead, the small ship bobbed and weaved like a cornered animal refusing to go down quietly. Whenever an opening appeared, Rachel ordered precise shots from the remaining cannons, taking out one fighter after another. The Crixin commander, watching from the safety of his flagship, grew increasingly frustrated. This tiny, battered ship shouldn't have been able to survive so long. His pride stung. He ordered more fighters to join the assault, determined to crush the annoyance once and for all. Back on Earth, military analysts watched the battle unfold with bated breath. Most of the human fleet had already been destroyed, and the Vanguard was assumed lost as well. But then, a faint signal appeared on their screens, a distress call. The message was weak, broken by static, but clear enough to understand. The Vanguard was still alive, still fighting. News of the ship's defiance spread quickly. Across the planet, people gathered around screens, watching footage of the lone vessel holding its ground against overwhelming odds. Reporters dubbed it the miracle of the stars. Social media lit up with messages of hope and admiration. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity felt a spark of courage. On board the Vanguard, the crew worked tirelessly to keep their ship operational. Samantha patched leaks and rerouted power wherever she could, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. Rachel continued to direct their maneuvers, her mind racing faster than ever. Daniel focused on keeping the ship steady, sweat dripping down his face as he fought to maintain control. Captain Drake stood silently on the bridge, observing his crew with quiet pride. These men and women weren't soldiers by nature. They were engineers, navigators, and tacticians, but they had risen to the occasion when it mattered most. They weren't just buying time for Earth. They were proving that humanity wouldn't bow to anyone. The Crixin intensified their attack, pushing the Vanguard to its limits. Shields dropped to critical levels, and the hull groaned under the strain. But the crew refused to give up. Every hit they took was met with gritted teeth and renewed determination. "They're not going to break us," Drake said aloud, though no one needed to hear it. Everyone on board already knew. Against all odds, the Vanguard kept fighting. And for the first time in the war, the Crixin began to doubt their own invincibility. The Vanguard was in bad shape. Its shields were barely holding, and the hull was scorched from countless hits. Alarms blared constantly, warning of failing systems and breaches in the lower decks. Yet, somehow, the ship kept moving. Captain Alan Drake stood on the bridge, his face streaked with sweat, but his expression resolute. He glanced at his crew, each of them working tirelessly to keep the vessel alive. "Rachel, any ideas?" Drake asked, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Lieutenant Rachel Brooks didn't look up from her console. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she studied the data streaming in. "Their fighters are fast, but they're starting to make mistakes," she said. "If we can lure them into a tighter formation, we might be able to hit multiple targets with one shot." Drake nodded. "Daniel, can you handle that?" Ensign Daniel Hayes hesitated for a moment. The young navigator had never faced a situation like this before. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the course, plotting a risky path through the enemy swarm. "I'll try, sir," he said, his voice tight with nerves. Chief Engineer Samantha Lane's voice crackled over the comms. "Captain, I've rerouted everything I can to the weapons. One good shot is all we've got left." "Understood," Drake replied. He turned back to his crew. "Everyone, stay sharp. We're going to do this together." The Vanguard began its maneuver, weaving unpredictably through space. The Crixin fighters followed, their pilots growing more aggressive as they closed in. Rachel watched their movements carefully, waiting for the perfect moment. When the enemy ships clustered tightly enough, she gave the order. "Fire!" she shouted. The Vanguard's remaining cannons roared to life, unleashing a concentrated burst of energy. The blast tore through the cluster of fighters, destroying several at once. Cheers erupted on the bridge, but they were short-lived. The Crixin flagship responded immediately, launching another wave of fighters and firing directly at the human ship. Back on Earth, military analysts monitored the battle with growing awe. The Vanguard had become a symbol of hope, a lone ship standing against an unstoppable force. News outlets broadcast live footage of the fight, showing the battered vessel dodging and striking back against overwhelming odds. People across the planet watched in stunned silence, their hearts pounding with every explosion and near miss. "They're still holding," one analyst whispered, disbelief in his voice. "How are they still holding?" Inspired by the Vanguard's defiance, volunteers flooded recruitment centers. Scientists worked around the clock to develop new technologies, drawing inspiration from the ship's tactics. Even ordinary citizens found strength in the story of the small crew refusing to give up. On board the Vanguard the crew pushed themselves harder than ever. Samantha crawled through the cramped corridors of the engineering deck, welding shut breaches and rerouting power wherever she could. Her hands were burned and blistered, but she didn't stop. Rachel continued to direct their maneuvers, her calm demeanor masking the exhaustion she felt. Daniel focused on keeping the ship steady, his earlier fear replaced by grim determination. Captain Drake watched them all with quiet pride. These weren't soldiers or heroes by trade. They were ordinary people thrust into an extraordinary situation. Yet, they had risen to the challenge, proving that courage wasn't about being fearless. It was about standing your ground even when you were scared. The Crixin commander, watching from his flagship, couldn't understand what was happening. This tiny, damaged ship should have been destroyed hours ago. Instead, it kept fighting, kept surviving. Frustration boiled inside him as he ordered another full assault. The Vanguard shuddered under the renewed barrage, its systems flickering dangerously. Drake clenched his fists, knowing they were running out of time. But he also knew something else. They had already achieved the impossible. They had held the line when no one thought they could. And as long as the Vanguard flew, the Crixin would never see humanity as weak again. "We're not done yet," Drake said aloud, his voice firm. Not by a long shot. The Vanguard was falling apart. Smoke filled the corridors, and the hum of failing systems echoed through the ship. The crew worked nonstop, their faces streaked with dirt and sweat. But they knew the end was near. Captain Alan Drake stood on the bridge, his eyes locked on the viewscreen as another wave of Crixin fighters closed in. The enemy flagship loomed in the distance, its massive form a constant reminder of their impossible odds. "Shields are down to 10%, Lieutenant Rachel Brooks reported, her voice strained but steady. She glanced at Drake, waiting for his next order. Drake didn't respond right away. His mind raced, searching for any way to turn the tide. They had already done more than anyone expected, but he couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something they could do. Something big. "Samantha," he said into the comms, "how much power is left in the reactor?" Chief Engineer Samantha Lane's voice came back instantly, though it sounded weaker than usual. "Not much, Captain. Enough to keep us running for maybe 20 minutes if we're lucky." "What if we overload it?" Drake asked, his tone careful but firm. There was a long pause. When Samantha finally spoke, her voice was quiet but resolute. "If we overload the reactor, we can channel all that energy into one massive burst. It might take out some of their fighters, or even damage the flagship, if we're close enough." Drake nodded, even though no one could see him. "Do it." Rachel turned to look at him, her eyes wide. "Sir, that'll destroy the ship. And us." "I know," Drake replied, meeting her gaze. "But if we can cripple their flagship, Earth will have a fighting chance. That's what this is about, isn't it? Buying time for everyone back home." No one argued. They all understood what was at stake. Ensign Daniel Hayes swallowed hard, but kept his focus on the navigation console. "I'll guide us in," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "We'll get as close as we need to." Samantha got to work immediately, rerouting every last bit of power to prepare the reactor for the overload. Her hands moved quickly, despite the exhaustion weighing her down. Sparks flew around her as she worked, but she didn't stop. This was their final stand, and she wasn't going to let anything go wrong. On Earth, millions of people watched the battle unfold. News outlets broadcast live updates, showing the battered Vanguard weaving through space, dodging enemy fire while launching desperate counterattacks. Analysts speculated about the ship's chances, but deep down, everyone knew the truth. The Vanguard wasn't coming back. Yet, instead of despair, the world felt a surge of hope. The crew's bravery reminded everyone what humanity was capable of when pushed to its limits. Back on board, the crew prepared for the end. Rachel plotted the timing of the reactor overload, ensuring it would happen at the perfect moment. Daniel adjusted the ship's course, steering them closer to the Crixin flagship. Samantha monitored the reactor, her face pale but determined. Drake stood silently on the bridge, watching over his crew like a guardian. "We're almost there," Rachel said after a few tense minutes. 30 seconds until impact. The Crixin commander, growing increasingly frustrated, ordered his flagship to move closer to the human ship. He wanted to witness the destruction of this stubborn vessel himself. But as the two ships drew nearer, the Vanguard suddenly stopped moving. Its engine sputtered and died, leaving it drifting helplessly in space. "What are they doing?" the Crixin commander demanded, his voice sharp with confusion. Drake smiled grimly. "It's time," he said softly. Samantha activated the reactor overload sequence. A countdown appeared on the main screen. 10, 9, 8. "Hold steady," Drake told his crew. His voice was calm, almost soothing. "We've done our part." Rachel clenched her fists tightly, her knuckles white. Daniel gripped the edges of his console, bracing himself. Samantha leaned against a wall in engineering, closing her eyes for a brief moment. The countdown continued. 3, 2, 1. A blinding flash of light erupted from the Vanguard engulfing the surrounding space in a wave of energy. The Crixin fighters were obliterated instantly, and the flagship's shields flickered and collapsed under the force of the blast. Debris spiraled outward, including pieces of the heroic ship that had held the line. On Earth, cheers erupted as the news broke. The Crixin flagship was crippled, its once invincible aura shattered. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity dared to believe they might actually win. Captain Alan Drake and his crew were gone, but their sacrifice would never be forgotten. The Vanguard had proven that even the smallest spark of courage could change the course of history. The explosion from the Vanguard lit up the darkness of space like a second sun. The massive burst of energy tore through the Crixin fighters, scattering their wreckage across the void. Even the flagship, once thought invincible, was left reeling. Its shields collapsed under the force of the blast, and parts of its hull cracked open, venting atmosphere into the cold emptiness. For the first time in their history, the Crixin were caught off guard. Their commander stared at the chaos on his monitors, his sharp features twisted in disbelief. What just happened? He growled, turning to his subordinates. No one had an answer. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had turned their own destruction into a weapon. On Earth, the reaction was immediate. People poured into the streets, cheering and crying as news of the Vanguard's final act spread. The battered ship had not only crippled the Crixin flagship, but also shattered the illusion of their invincibility. Military leaders scrambled to capitalize on the moment, reinforcing Earth's defenses and preparing for whatever came next. Scientists worked around the clock, studying the data transmitted by the Vanguard in its final moments. They hoped to replicate the reactor overload technique, though many doubted they could ever match the bravery of Drake and his crew. In the days that followed, the story of the Vanguard became legend. News outlets broadcast interviews with families of the crew, sharing stories of their loved ones' courage. Lieutenant Rachel Brooks, who had calmly plotted tactics until the very end, was remembered as a genius under pressure. Chief Engineer Samantha Lane, whose quick thinking kept the ship running long enough to make the sacrifice possible, was hailed as a hero. Ensign Daniel Hayes, the young navigator who guided the Vanguard to its final position, became a symbol of hope for future generations. And Captain Alan Drake, whose leadership held the crew together even in the face of certain death, was celebrated as the embodiment of human resilience. Monuments were erected in their honor, and schools began teaching the story of the Vanguard to inspire students. Across the globe, people felt a renewed sense of purpose. The Crixin invasion had brought fear, but the Vanguard's defiance had ignited something else: determination. Humanity would not back down. Meanwhile, aboard the damaged Crixin flagship, the Crixin fleet retreated, licking their wounds and regrouping in the shadows of deep space. Their once unshakable confidence was shaken to its core. The humans had proven they were not just helpless prey. They were fighters. Back on Earth, the mood shifted from fear to cautious optimism. People worked together like never before, united by the memory of the Vanguard *. Factories churned out new ships, engineers developed advanced weapons, and soldiers trained with a renewed sense of purpose. Captain Alan Drake and his crew became symbols of hope. Posters with their faces hung in schools, community centers, and military bases. The words "Hold the Line" were painted on walls and stitched onto uniforms. Humanity had found its rallying cry, and it came from the bravery of a small group who refused to give up. In orbit around Earth, construction crews raced to complete a new fleet of warships. Among them was the SS Legacy *, named in honor of the Vanguard *. It was larger and more advanced than any human vessel before it, equipped with experimental technology reverse-engineered from data sent by the Vanguard during its final moments. The ship's captain, Laura Myers, carried the weight of expectation on her shoulders. She knew she couldn't replace Alan Drake, but she vowed to live up to his example. Meanwhile, the Crixin plotted their next move. Their commander, humiliated by the loss of his flagship, demanded answers. How could such a primitive species outwit them? He ordered his scientists to study the remnants of the Vanguard's reactor overload, determined to understand how the humans had turned their own destruction into an advantage. But time was running out. Reports from scouts confirmed that Earth's defenses were stronger than ever. On Earth, young cadet Emily Carter graduated at the top of her class. Her instructors praised her quick thinking and leadership skills, qualities she had honed while studying the tactics used by Lieutenant Rachel Brooks aboard the Vanguard *. Emily stood tall as she received her commission, her eyes fixed on the stars beyond the academy windows. She dreamed of commanding her own ship one day, just like Captain Drake. As weeks passed, tensions grew. The Crixin fleet re-emerged, this time with reinforcements. They approached Earth cautiously, testing the planet's new defenses. Smaller skirmishes broke out in the outer reaches of the solar system, but humanity held firm. The lessons learned from the Vanguard paid off. Human pilots adopted unpredictable maneuvers, luring Crixin ships into traps and targeting their weak points. One night, as the Crixin launched a massive assault, the SS Legacy saw its first real action. Captain Myers led her crew with calm precision, channeling the spirit of Drake as she guided the ship through waves of enemy fire. The battle was fierce, but the Legacy proved its worth. Its shields absorbed hit after hit, and its weapons tore through Crixin fighters with devastating accuracy. Back on Earth, people watched the battle unfold on screens, holding their breath. When news came that the Legacy had successfully repelled the attack, cheers erupted. The victory wasn't just about stopping the Crixin. It was proof that humanity could adapt, grow, and fight back. But the war was far from over. The Crixin were still a formidable enemy, and their numbers seemed endless. Yet, something had changed. Humanity no longer saw itself as powerless. The sacrifice of the Vanguard had sparked a flame that refused to be extinguished. Emily Carter stood on the deck of a training ship, gazing at the stars. She thought about Captain Drake and his crew, wondering what they would think if they could see how far humanity had come. She smiled softly, knowing they'd be proud. "We'll keep fighting," she whispered. "For you, for Earth, and for everyone who believes we can win." The stars above shimmered with promise, even as the threat of war loomed. Humanity had taken its first steps toward becoming something greater, a united force capable of standing against even the darkest threats. And though the road ahead would be long and hard, the legacy of the Vanguard would guide them every step of the way. Years passed, and the memory of the SS Vanguard never faded. Humanity had changed because of it. The crew's sacrifice became a cornerstone of Earth's identity, a reminder that courage and unity could overcome even the greatest odds. Monuments to Captain Alan Drake and his team stood in every major city, their names taught to children alongside stories of history's greatest heroes. But the true legacy of the Vanguard wasn't just in statues or speeches. It was in the way humanity carried itself. People worked harder, dreamed bigger, and faced challenges with a resolve that hadn't existed before. The war with the Crixin dragged on, but humanity grew stronger with each passing year. New ships joined the fleet, faster and more advanced than ever. Pilots trained rigorously, learning from the tactics used by the Vanguard *. Engineers developed technologies inspired by Samantha Lane's ingenuity, creating reactors and weapons capable of rivaling the Crixin's power. Even ordinary citizens played their part, volunteering for relief efforts, supporting families affected by the war, and keeping hope alive. One of those inspired was Emily Carter. Now a captain herself, she commanded the SS Horizon *, one of Earth's newest and most advanced vessels. Her ship was sleek and powerful, designed to outmaneuver and outgun anything the Crixin could throw at them. Emily often thought about the Vanguard as she led her crew through battles. She imagined Captain Drake standing on his bridge, making impossible decisions with quiet strength. It gave her courage when things seemed darkest. The turning point came during a massive battle near Saturn. The Crixin had launched an all-out assault, determined to crush Earth once and for all. Their fleet stretched across the sky, a wall of metal and fire. For hours, the fighting raged, both sides taking heavy losses. Just when it seemed like humanity might falter, Emily made a bold move. "Follow me," she ordered, guiding the Horizon into the heart of the Crixin formation. Her plan was risky, a direct charge toward the enemy flagship. But it worked. Inspired by her bravery, other human ships followed, breaking through the Crixin lines. Together, they overwhelmed the alien forces, destroying their flagship and scattering the rest of the fleet. When the dust settled, the victory was clear. The Crixin retreated, leaving behind only silence. For the first time in decades, Earth was safe. Cheers erupted across the planet as people celebrated the end of the war. Fireworks lit up the night skies, and crowds gathered around monuments to honor those who had given everything. Emily stood quietly on the bridge of the Horizon watching the stars. She felt a mix of pride and sadness. Pride for what humanity had achieved, and sadness for those who hadn't lived to see it. She thought about Captain Drake, Lieutenant Brooks, Ensign Hayes, and Chief Engineer Lane. Their faces were etched in her mind, not as distant legends, but as real people who had changed the course of history. "We did it," she whispered, though no one else heard her. "Because of you." In the years that followed, humanity rebuilt and expanded. Colonies sprang up on Mars and beyond, protected by fleets of powerful ships. Earth became a beacon of resilience and innovation, admired by species across the galaxy. The story of the Vanguard was told wherever humans traveled, a testament to the strength of those who refused to give up. Young cadets still studied the battle, learning how a single ship had held the line against overwhelming odds, and when they looked up at the stars, they didn't see fear, they saw possibilities. They saw a future shaped by the sacrifices of those who came before. Captain Alan Drake and his crew were gone, but their spirit lived on. The Vanguard's final act had sparked something greater than anyone could have imagined. Humanity had not only survived, it had grown stronger, braver, and more united. The stars were no longer a place of fear. They were a frontier waiting to be explored, a challenge waiting to be met. And so, with courage forged in the fires of adversity, humanity ventured forward. The legacy of the Vanguard would guide them always, lighting the way to a brighter tomorrow.